Face the wall. Put your hands against the wall. Face the wall. Do not look left. Do not look right. This is Jack from Fed Joints to Beer Joints, and that's some of the theatrics that are performed in the ADX Florence when you're there. I'll get into that more in a minute. Today we're talking about my time at the ADX with Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, and some other inmates, not meeting them face to face, but through the written word and the request to me. I was the clerk there, assigned from the camp, which is the lowest security facility. And I was assigned to the ADX to be their recreation and education director, inmate director for these guys. So I kind of want to give you a little perspective on the ADX and some of the things that go on there that are realistic and some that are just ridiculous, like in all prisons. Prisons are full of ridiculous shit, let me tell you. When you go from the camp, where I was at the camp, I was about 350 to 450 inmates, somewhere in there. I don't know. Always shit going on all the time. There would be parties going on. There would be stuff being snuck in every night. And these little black bags, guys would run out to the community. People would set stuff up for them out there. They'd bring it in. You know, there was beer, wine, whiskey, cigars, cigarettes, cell phones, a couple times girls. They get pizza from town. It's wide open. The COs that work there either don't care or are incompetent, and sometimes it's both. And so, like I said, it's not a big deal. I've been at a higher level security in Texas at Latuna FCI. It wasn't like that there. There was some of that, but it was a whole different ballgame. Violent place, pretty tough. Camp is, I don't know, it's kind of like daycare for adults. Anyway, so, well, at the camp, I was the recreation and education inmate coordinator there. And one day they came to me, one of the COs did, and wanted me to go. He was transferring to the ADX, and he wanted me to go with him. He was my supervisor there. So I ended up going to the ADX, kind of against my wishes. One way I kind of wanted to go to see what it was like, but didn't really want to hang out there much. I could see it when we were out walking around. We were free to walk all kinds of places from the camp. The ADX looks a little menacing. You had a medium, you had a high security, you had a camp, and then down at the end was the ADX. So when you get to the ADX, the first day you realize right away this is a different deal. Because you come from all the laughing, joking, hooting, hollering, carrying on, radios blasting, all this stuff at the camp, and you go to the ADX and it's like you walked into the morgue. First part of your experience is you ride a bus over. They get this old rickety old bus, you ride over them. And once you get out of the bus, pat downs begin. So big razor wire fence, which I was used to from Latuna, but Latuna was lively. You could see inmates walk around. You don't see them walk around at the ADX. So outside the razor wire, they pat all the inmates down, shake them down, everything. And then you go inside the razor wire. There's another pat down, shake down. And then once you're inside there, then there's metal detectors and these long hallways and pretty much dead silence. What I was talking about a minute ago was on the wall, face the wall stuff is one of the things. This is very theatrical. This is ridiculous. When you're a camper, let me back up a second. The COs notify, when you're outside, the COs notify by radio, the inside people, that they're bringing campers in to work. When I went there was like just 3 or 4 of us, sometimes 2 of us, sometimes just me. They notify me, they say, okay, then you okay to bring them in. As you're walking in the hallway, there are some offices here, medical things there, and there are people who work there beside the COs that bring it in. And if one of them comes down the hallway, say there's ladies who work in the offices there, or a dude, whoever it is, as a camp inmate, you're to turn and face the wall. I don't know what this is about. You know, we're campers. We are walking. We walk to the ADX sometimes. We walked clear across the compound, but now we're inside, and these guys make a big deal out of this. You know, hit your face against the wall. Don't look at them. Okay, most may worth looking at anyway. Don't get your feelings hurt. That's about the size of it. We're gonna look at you. I can care less. You know. So, and they make this big announcement, and they do it so they are impressing their supervisors, I'm sure. You know, now a couple of COs are pretty cool. They go, oh, hey, so-and-so's coming. Just look at the wall, guys. Because that's the policy, I guess. they're okay. They understand. Some of these other guys, I I can't even explain. So anyway, once we're inside you take us down the hallway. I'm not going to go through the whole thing there because it's kind of boring and mundane. But they get you down there, take us in this office area. It's kind of just a big open area, and there's boxes of crap, and there's a library section, and then there's this horseshoe shaped kind of like desk out front there for us, counter, and that was where our job is at. And when we were out there, we did things like we would every day receive these things. They're called cop outs. It's a form that the inmates from the ADX send in, and on its request, they have requests for maybe legal materials, maybe books they want to read, um, response to games and quizzes we sent out. And we did this. We sent games and quizzes out. That's how I had my first interaction with Ted Kaczynski, or actually with any of them. But we would send quizzes out that we would make up ourselves, and then they were supposed to be legitimate quizzes, So we sent things down, and we had other games. They had like a NASCAR game where the NASCAR was racing. Some of the guys had TVs and stuff, and they could pick the winner, then they'd win. And for people who won these contests, we sent down things like power bars and candy bars, miscellaneous crap like that they had in this storage area. And so, for example, if we sent out a trivia game about hockey, National Hockey League, and in that there'd be 10 questions, and someone got 8 right, and that was the most. They got a prize. Now everybody else isn't supposed to get a prize, just them. Well, when you're first there, you follow the rules pretty close, and you do that. And you base a lot of things on what you see when these guys write to you about the kind of personalities they have, whatever. So the winner, he gets this here. And after you're there a while, you see these guys writing cop outs, and I know they're criminals. I know they're probably horrible people, but the way they treated us, that's what we went by. So they're seeing pretty decent guys that, hey, can I get this, please? And thank you and stuff. So even if they didn't win a contest, we put on the cart something for them that they would get delivered by the COs like they did win the contest. Because these guys are stuck in an area where you walk about 3 steps one way and about 4 steps the other way, and that's your area. That's your world. And no matter what you think about these guys and how bad you want to punish them, you got to consider that's their world, and we're stuck there working with them. And so every day we get these notes, you can actually see some of these guys are pretty fucking stressed out. Can't imagine why. Other ones don't seem to care at all. Some of them pretty imposing. Some of them are actually threatening. But that's how I came to the first time deal with Ted Kaczynski. And Ted, on the quizzes, uh, didn't always even partake in these contests. But when he did, he got everything right. He didn't do any of the sports ones. But we had some things we put out there were just, like maybe a science one or something like that. We'd look all these things up, I and another inmate, and we'd put these. We had an old typewriter. We typed these things out, old typewriter, and then we'd make copies, and we'd be put on the cart, and the COs would take them down with the other things they delivered every day, and these guys would respond. The next day, we'd get them back. And I noticed when we did ones about maybe science or maybe like a math thing or maybe a history thing, Ted always would partake in. And then he got to be a regular one, and he'd get them always right. And he'd send back his thing, Ted, because Theodore John Kaczynski, always put his full name up. And you have his inmate number behind it. And he'd win all the time on those. One time he got kind of pissed at us, though. We sat down a quiz about the Brady Bunch. You remember the Brady Bunch? Ted thought that was horrible. Yeah, terrible thing to do. Yeah, he just thought that was so ridiculous. That was the only time I remember him sending us a note where he sounded like he was angry. And it was long. I mean, long. Telling us all the reasons we shouldn't have done that. Oddly enough, if I remember right, we had a whole bunch of perfect scores, 10s on that. All the questions we asked about the Brady Bunch, a lot of the inmates got it right. Anyway, so they got power bars, whatever. Sometimes the COs would just tell us, throw extra shit on the cart. I don't want to listen to these guys bitch all day, depending on what unit they're in. So we would send the stuff down. As I remember, the terrorists didn't really partake a whole lot in any of just stuff like that. But they would make requests about reading material and stuff, and they would always say, "Thank you and bless your family." I've mentioned this in the other video, how they were the friendliest of the inmates, the terrorists. And it must be strange for them to say that. And you feel like if you were in some building and they target it, they're going to blow you up. Are they saying, "Bless you and your family"? Boom! I don't know. Odd, isn't it? Anyway, back to Ted. Ted Kaczynski, while he was there, and while I was there and my dealing with him, Ted was a regular writer. He wrote things all the time. Now, I have seen a thing where they said that everything he wrote was up in Michigan, at University of Michigan, or someplace up there. But they've kept all his documents. That's not true. All his documents are not up there. No, they're not. None of these inmates, all their documents are anywhere. There may be quite a few of them there. Might be a lot of them there. Ones he specified and sent up there. I know he mailed out packages to someplace with these documents after they reviewed them. Most of his shit got thrown away. Most of the stuff all these guys get thrown away. I heard this story. Oh, no, they keep everything. Bullshit. I was there. They threw it away. They didn't keep all this stuff. I mean, so anyway, that was a footnote on the whole thing. Ted wrote some interesting things, though. And one thing he wrote out that I guess to this day, showed how intelligent he was, is he sent us a letter one day talking about a cop-out. And on this cop-out, he said, I'm paraphrasing, "I appreciate the fact that the materials I've been asking for recently have been getting to me promptly. Prior to this, they weren't. So I'm assuming that," and he wrote this to the supervisor, but we got it. "I'm assuming that you have either got better trained personnel from the Bureau of Prisons or whatever working there, or the reality it's probably an inmate because you guys can't figure anything out." He slammed him, you know. He was anti anything government, anything he wrote to us that we saw. Anyway, back to the topic I was talking about. Ted was, he wrote something. This was towards the end of my time there that I thought was, now I think is remarkable. At the time, wasn't a big deal. He wrote a note and he said, "How do you feel about the fact that even," not paraphrasing again, "that even though this is a prison job or a job you have while you're incarcerated, in all reality, your position here and maybe positions you have out in the world will be limited by technology, and that there's going to come a time when technology will control human thinking and become this crutch that humans will rely on so much that they will be unable to move on." And the reason I bring that up is I'm thinking about GPS in your car. I mean, if I have to drive from here to Chicago and I get in Chicago, I'm not going to pull out a map. I'm not going to stop at a gas station and ask questions from other humans. I'm going to use the GPS in my car to get there. I rely on it. How about you? What about artificial intelligence? I will be the first to tell you, in my workaday stuff, I started using artificial intelligence, but I've started reading about how many people in their business world or even their personal life are using artificial intelligence, and the incredible amount of people that are using artificial intelligence for their health care. Maybe it's a good idea. Maybe it's not. Probably cheaper than a doctor. But my point of all this, Ted Kaczynski talked about that during his time in prison with us in writing. Pretty remarkable. And the way he detailed it out. Ted would be one of these guys where he would write you a very short note. I would like this book. One of the books, and I think he checked this book out 2 or 3 times, was called The Wild by Jack London. I remember that. And I'm thinking now, I'm going to be clear on the ADX. When you work in the library in the ADX or in recreation and education, there are several sections in the library, A, B, C, D, E, and they correlate to the units. I'm just going to give you an example. Let's say J unit, okay? which we'll say is the terrorist. I think it might have been the terrorist J unit, the convicted terrorists. Okay, the non-convicted terrorists are down at Gitmo, what do they call it? These guys are actually convicted of something. The World Trade Center bombing. Okay, he's in there. Anyway, so when they put in a library request, you only go to their section in the library. Their books are restricted to that. And actually, it's not very big. It's like 2 rows of books, okay? And in that section, the approved material for these guys to read is all you can pick out. If that book, at that time we were there, let's say one of the guys from J requested a book, and it's in A, but it's not in J. They can't have it. Can't. So you have to get it out of there. But anyway, that's one of the books was in there. He had other ones. I think there was a George Orwell book that he liked. I don't remember all the books he checked out. Someone said there's a record of them someplace. I don't care. I'm just telling you what I saw. But we all remember Ted. Ted killed 3 people and wounded 20-some people. I don't even know the numbers. I'm not here about the crime he committed so much. I mean, all I remember about that thing was the FBI profiler spent all those years being wrong. Imagine the FBI being wrong. What a shocker. Until somebody told on Ted, and then they were right. But the entire thing was Ted was off the grid and living out in the boonies. And so my experience with him in the ADX was, and this is purely opinion, but it didn't seem like, well, I was there. I know later he committed suicide, but it didn't seem like while I was there, being by himself was really bothersome as long as he had the materials he wanted to read and his ability to write. Nothing he ever wrote to us really seemed like he was angry or other than he got mad about the trivia game. He complained a lot. He complained about the correctional officers. He complained about noise. I don't know what the noise was. Sometimes he said there was too much radio noise where he was at from the COs that were working. I don't know about that. I'm just telling you what he complained about. The institutional issues. But it wasn't, and this is going to sound weird, it wasn't because he was so unhappy about it, didn't seem like to me. It's because he was anti-government, anti-prison, anti-politics, anti-technology. He pretty much anti-everything. And so that was part of his thought process, put all this stuff on paper and he sent it out. And that's what he would do. And that's how he passed his day. Never met the guy. Like this. I remember leaving there thinking, well, last time I'm going to see any of the stuff from these people. And there are other ones we'll talk about as well. But Ted stuck out as being one of the more interesting characters that we dealt with on a daily basis. We never had any disrespect problems from him in writing or anything of the sort. Some of these other guys, we'll talk about them. We had some dandies in there. So, but that's all I've got today for this. This is Jack from Fed Joints to Beer Joints. Send me your comments. Send me your questions. If you got anything, your thoughts on Kaczynski, thoughts on the ADX, questions about the ADX. I'm only going to tell you what I actually saw there. And I have to laugh. I got corrected some couple correctional officers. Oh, I didn't. That's not what the place looks like. I'm sorry. I'm telling you what I saw there. You can tell me anything you want to. Maybe you saw something different. If you were sitting with us where we were, the places we walked, that's where it was. That's exactly how it was. It's just eyewitness stuff. Like I said, that's why I didn't go into Kaczynski's deep historical value to the country. Don't care about it. I'm not going to go into the horrendous person he was. Not what this is about. When I talk about the other inmates that we dealt with there and some of the things they said and did, just that's all it was. What we dealt with in those 2 rooms we worked in every day at the ADX Florence. The Alcatraz of the Rockies, as they call it. Jack from Fed Joints to Beer Joints. We're going to keep it real. We'll see you next time.